J Media.
Welcome back to Ignyte Your podcast. I'm your host, Austin T. Gullett, and we're here to have genuine conversations with authentic people to help amplify their voice and figure out what ignites their why. Today's guest is the founder and CEO of Everyday an Episode. He's a former Division I and NFL player and a huge mental health advocate. I'm super excited to have this conversation today, so let's give a warm welcome to Keandre Jones. Keandre, how you doing today, man?
Hey, how you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
I'm good. Just grinding it out. Excited to have this conversation. I think the work you're doing throughout the community is important. And I'm excited to kind of learn more about that, but also more about you. So let's just hop straight into this, man. What is your story?
Yeah, so let's start at childhood. My upbringing was around, I think, 10 years old. That's when I started playing the game of football. And that's kind of what introduced me to that structure and like discipline I needed. As kids, we need that. And I know for me, that was an importance for my mother. So she put me in the sports, something physical, obviously, being a young boy. You got to get out that energy, that anger, or whatever is bothering you. I was raised by a single mother, 3 kids. I'm the middle child. I would say me and my mom are twins because she's also a Libra. So just getting into sports, man, it was a great opportunity for me to have that foundation and structure that I needed in my life as a young teenager or kid. You start to act out. You start to want that other parent or role model around. So to be able to have my coaches, my mentors, teachers, it was very important for my upbringing. So you fast forward from 10 years old to through middle school, and then having the opportunity to pick a high school, which I'm originally from Maryland, and I got the opportunity to attend one of the best high schools in Maryland. I might be biased, but it's Our Lady of Good Counsel High School. We have athletes like Stephon Diggs. I don't know if you ever heard that name. Big time football player, wide receiver, who actually is from my local hometown area, Montgomery County, Maryland. He played at my high school. Dorian O'Daniel, Sam Mustipher, Josh Pascal. I mean, the list goes on of the talent. And these guys, was able to make it to Division I and also excel at the professional level in the NFL. So these are just to name a few. And so that was the pressure, or not even pressure, but opportunity that I had to make something of what I was doing with football. So, yeah, we're in high school and getting recruited by multiple colleges like the Ohio State University, University of Maryland. Those are two of the schools that I had the opportunity to attend once my high school career was over. So, yeah, I think just football in general prepared me for what I'm doing right now in my life, creating my own mentorship program. We're in it right now. Everyday episode was created to focus on mental health and wellness by telling the stories, by programming, talking about financial literacy, mental health, real estate, whatever it is that's going to make you a successful human.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's beautiful. I think the organization you have is amazing because I work in education. I work with kids all the time, and I think they're our future and they deserve everything in this world. But before we hop into like your organization and everything that you're doing, I kind of want to backtrack a little bit because I was an athlete growing up, and being an athlete, you kind of identify so much with your sport that it's just like this is what we do. So my question for you is kind of just like a more in-depth question is like once football was kind of like over or not necessarily over, but how did you find out who you truly were outside of football? Because us as athletes often put so much of our identity into our sport. What was that journey like in discovering who Keandre was outside of football?
I think for me, that discovery started when I initially started playing the game at 10 years old. I knew what I wanted to do with football. I knew
Mm-hmm.
I can utilize it as a tool to get me out my situation. So my backstory is I kind of compare it to The Blind Side, the movie The Blind Side. Stayed with multiple families just to pursue playing this game of football that I love. So whether that was families helping out my mother, making sure I made it to practice, or I needed cleats, or just a home cooked meal or a roof over my head, we've endured challenges of being in shelters. So that kind of prepares you and builds you fighting through adversity, and that led to me just taking football a lot more serious than a lot of my peers. I knew football was going to be my way out, and also as we speak on education, that was the most important and critical thing, getting my education paid for.
Hmm.
Like so many others that's fortunate, which is great that they have the chance to pay for college. I wasn't awarded that chance, so I had to make sure I took my academics and football, being a student athlete, serious. So just fighting through all those adversities of staying with multiple families, homelessness, living in the shelters, and just not having my father around created that sense of urgency
Hmm.
for me.
Yeah, and I just want to like ask this question is like because I feel like growing up for me, like I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood. I've seen so many different walks of life and was exposed to a lot of things that people wouldn't say was like normal. I guess you would say. So I feel like I always had a choice growing up. I felt like I could have easily went a path with some of my friends who got into drugs and alcohol and just different things, but I chose the same way you did. Like I wanted to education was important for me. Like I wanted to go to college, I wanted to be better for myself, and I felt like I had that choice to make. So how did you kind of maintain the right path? Because I feel like as kids it's easily to be influenced by your peers. So how did you stay strong and focused on what you needed to do in the classroom and on the football field and not get caught up in the craziness of the world?
I think I stayed focused because of having a why. I knew my mother, that was my why. That was my example of what it was like to sacrifice, commitment, to not make excuses. So just watching her make sure that we had everything we needed, even though there was all this chaos around us, I used her as the example blueprint of
Mm-hmm.
making it through adversity or tough situations, especially like how you said, kids, you have a choice. And for some of these kids, now that I'm back in education, I realize it is a difficult one, choosing to always be consistent and show up and make the right choice. Which for me, some of us we get lucky. Now, did I make a lot of bad choices? Yeah, absolutely, because I didn't take my education as serious as I should have. But the thing was, I made a lot of good ones too, and I stayed consistent on getting back on track. I think that's where the separation comes in life. We're all not going to make it, which is the reality. And I try to stress that to the kids nowadays. The world is never going to be as easy as it is on you when you're a kid. Now, for me, I had to grow up a lot more sooner than my peers. Like I said, I was living out the house when I was a teenager just to
Mm-hmm.
pursue playing football. So that required me to make a lot more adult decisions. And nowadays, our kids are a lot exposed to social media, killings, violence, a lot more sooner. So, in a sense, they have to grow up and mature and be numb to the world. So for me, it's just really staying level headed and remembering why I started doing this. And it was that example of just having my mom always
Mm-hmm.
showcase, like, you're going to have to fight through adversity.
I think it's great how you bring up social media because I tell people all the time, like, yes, like when I grew up, like I'm only 28, so like,
Are we the same age? So,
yeah, like Instagram was starting to become popular,
yeah.
like probably like sophomore, junior year of high school. So didn't really truly grow up with social media. So
Yes.
like we had MySpace.
We were still outside.
Yeah, like I had to be in when the streetlights came on. Like I like feel like I'm blessed that I had that kind of childhood because it was I think I don't think I would be able to survive growing up in today's society, just because of the things that kids are being exposed to at such a young age is
Yes.
insane to me. Whether it's like drugs, violence, sex, like it's literally all around you. And like
Yep.
you have like second graders who are talking like out of pocket. And I'm just like, yo, chill. How how do you even know what that is? And it's just like one of those things where I feel like social media is good and bad.
It
They
is.
have the pros and cons. I tell people all the time it's just a sexy highlight reel of people's lives. You get to see all the good of their lives most of the time, and it's I just couldn't imagine living in this era, and it is fearful when you're like, I want to have kids, but it's like I don't know how I would raise a kid in this kind of era because it's like
And that's probably why I took
insane.
my time with having kids and just going ahead and being back in education. I'm like, there's kids that actually need service
Hmm.
and help right now. So me, selfishly, yeah, I would love to have my own kid, but I understand the commitment to making sure these kids that are struggling and were in my situation when I was a kid, they need help. They need a mentor, a coach, a big uncle, whatever they want to call me. I'm that person. But also it's fearful because it's also knowing that you can't save every kid and knowing when to say, okay, I've exhausted all my resources trying to help this kid, because at the same
Hmm.
time the kid has to want to help himself and also the parents. And you know, being an athletic director, that's just as much as a battle in itself, because a lot of these parents, just like my mother, are in survival mode.
Hmm. I tell people all the time, I was like, I can want this for you as much as I want, but if you don't have the willpower to want it for yourself, like it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
I've I push kids out of their comfort zone a lot. I
You
think
got
that's
to.
the biggest thing is I have one student that always comes to my mind where she's so proactive in like what she like sees where her like future's going. And I'm just like, she's like, can you introduce me? No, you do it. You talk to him. Like, I'm not going to be there when you're in college to hold your hand and like walk you through life. Like, you're going to have uncomfortable conversations, especially like when you're meeting new people. And it's just like, I feel like the first conversation is typically always uncomfortable just
Yeah.
because you're just like, I don't know this person. I don't know how this conversation's going to go. But I push her. I'm like, you need to step out and you take the initiative, because if I can introduce you like no problem, but from a different, like from their perspective, they're going to see like, oh, this kid's serious, this
Yes.
kid wants to do more. And I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing is pushing them outside of their comfort zone and saying like, I'm your biggest cheerleader, I'm going to cheer you on all the time. And like she texts me all the time and she's like, I just got a job. And I'm just like, that's amazing. And it's because she's taking the initiative to do those things. Like I could help you find a job or whatever it may be, but the fact that she's taking the initiative, it just warms your heart and you're just like, I'm proud of you. Like you're
And that's
doing it.
critical. That's critical as we work with the youth to not handicap them in a world where you have to be self-efficient and you have to know how to get through life on your
Hmm.
own sometimes. That's why it was so important for me to go away from home. I'm glad I did choose an Ohio State to not just stay in my environment and be comfortable. You have to get uncomfortable with life because life is going to force you, whether you're experiencing losses of life, whether you're experiencing loss of a job, career, you're gonna be in uncomfortable situations always. But it's just, when I think of mental health, I try to use it as a way to where it's not handicapping my students, but also like an empowerment. When we talk about mental health, it's not, oh, I'm not feeling well today, I need 3 days off. Okay, you're not feeling well today, so let's give you some tools, and let's figure out how, when you're not feeling well, how
Hmm.
to fight through that. Not, I need 3 days off, I need to go take a vacation. I understand you might need that vacation, but you're gonna always, and I tell students, when I made it to the NFL and got money, I still had the same problems. Now, money with
Facts.
problems is a lot better. than having no money with the problems. But you have to be able to manage and figure out on your hard days how can I get through this? Like, what are the tools? What is something that I'm preparing myself for to get me through these losses or tough times?
Hmm.
So when I say mental health advocate, it's like I'm not going to use that as a crutch for you. I want the best out of you, so I'm going to make you. It's going to be uncomfortable. We're going to have to face some things.
I think that it's funny how we're having this conversation because I'm rewatching like All American right now. I don't know why, but it's just like it's one of those things where like am rewatching the series, and literally on the episode of one of the episodes I watched last night, they were talking about being uncomfortable. And I think people are so afraid of one, change and just the uncertainty and the unknown, where it's just like when things start to change in our lives, we want to be quick to fix them because it's like, oh, this shit, I don't like this. But in reality, it's like, oh, like, no, be uncomfortable, sit in that uncomfortableness and let it work out because of like whatever you're going through, like you have the strength to get through it. You just have to let it run its course. I think being uncomfortable is hard.
It
And they
is.
have that saying, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable because that's just part of being an adult. I think I tell people all the time, it's like you get into this like easy like schedule when you're in high school because it's always the same. Like
Yes.
you your school starts at the same time. You have to be in every single class. You see the same people every single day. And it's just like once you graduate and walk across that stage, your life is going to change drastically and you're
Yes.
going to
And fast.
have yes, and you're gonna have those moments of like, who am I don't know who I am. I don't like this, and you're gonna have those moments of doubt, and it's just like, how do you continue to push through those moments? And I think that's why like I love working in education, and I think you and I have very similar values, and um, I'm a big mentor person. Like I've mentored like my mentee Javier since he was 9 years old. He's now 20. He'll be 21 in May, which
That's
is,
dope.
or no, he'll be 20 in May. I don't know. He's like 20 or 21. I can't remember his age off the top of my head. But like
So
I've
many
been
kids.
with him since, yeah, I've been with him since he was five, like in fifth grade. And I've watched him go through middle school and high school and play college basketball and seen him make the tough decision to walk away from college basketball. Like those are the things where like I'm like, these are hard moments, but like you're set up to like go through this. And
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing. I love mentoring. I love being able to guide kids to a path of success. But I tell people all the time is one of my biggest like pet peeves is when people say our kids' future are at risk just because of where they come from and what they look like. I have a saying that every kid has a promising future. Like they're not at risk because of their circumstances, they're at promise. It's just we as adults have to have the like we have to give them the resources they
Yeah.
need to be successful
Yeah.
because regardless of what they look like or where they come from, they deserve equitable opportunities, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure my kids get that. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is just like I feel like that's my purpose in life. That's my mission is to help kids get out of whatever they're in and into a better future. And that's just where I'm at with life right now. That's where I
I like
feel
that
this
perspective.
is
I
where I'm
like
supposed to be.
you. Definitely, you where your feet are supposed to be, man, and you really doing it. And I hope that you see the transformation or impact that you're doing in the community, but also with the kids. And I tell people it's not going to happen overnight because I'm still playing football, but I also have the nonprofit working with the
Mhm.
kids, and people are like, okay, so like they're always looking for, okay, like did you fix the kid? Or like what? You got to give it time. So like with the kids we're working with now in high school, we'll know 5 to 10 years from now, did it pan out correctly? And some going to be a hit, some going to be a miss, just because we can't be with the kids 24/7. Unfortunately, we just can't.
And I also feel like I said before, is like they have a choice. Like
Yes.
I can help you, I can tell you, I can talk to you, but until you come to that realization yourself and say like, hey, like this isn't what I want. I can tell you you're making bad decisions. I can try to talk you into doing better or whatever it may be, but it all comes within yourself. Like you gotta want it. Like you have to want it yourself. And I think that's the thing is like I'm here to plant seeds, and if they blossom into flowers, amazing. But like you said, there's gonna be those ones that just don't sprout, and like they don't do what they are capable of doing. And I'm not saying like they're failures, because they're not.
Nah,
It's just sometimes it takes a little bit longer than
takes a
others,
little bit
and some
longer.
people have to make those mistakes and go through those hardships to kind of figure out like, oh, now it makes sense. Like I look back on life all the time, I'm like, oh, I went through this because of that. Like
And
it makes sense now.
we've been there. We've been in that situation. We're continuing to be in those situations of remembering, okay, somebody told me this. Okay, now I understand.
Mm-hmm. I like have a tattoo on my shoulder. It's John 13:7, and it just states that Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you'll understand." And I've kind of always just tried to live by that. It's like no matter what I'm going through in life, like might not make sense in my moment. I might not understand why it's happening. I might not understand tomorrow or a week from now, but eventually is going to click, and I'll understand why I'm going through or went through what I went through, because everything has its purpose and everything happens for a reason.
And that's important too. Just figuring out structurally what is my foundation with my religion,
Mm-hmm.
faith, spirituality. I think that's a core value to have, or just characteristic to have in your life, to just figure out, okay, what do I believe and what's actually holding me up? Because when things aren't going correct, you need to lean into something, whether it's your faith, your spirituality. I think that's important for us to get the kids to understand too, because a lot of the times these kids don't have one person that's positive. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of teaching them how to meditate, pray, have patience, think before you do, just sit in peace and be by yourself in quietness, and get off the phones, get away from the negativity. I think
Yeah,
that's
those
important too.
phones. One thing that I just don't understand, these kids walk around like with beats just like glued to their heads, and I'm just like, dude, like be present.
Well, you know what our kids in today. So with COVID, they missed 2 years. They missed two
Mm-hmm.
years of the social interaction that's needed for humans to coexist. Like we need these conversations. You need to be able to be in a big group and be able to speak and communicate, but also comprehend. Like their social skills is a little bit off. That's why we're seeing the kids wear a bunch of
Yeah.
earphones, or put the hoodies up, or wear these ski masks, and just isolate. As much as I
Yeah.
stress the isolation and being in peace, they don't know how to do that either, because socially they're just, I guess, messed up.
I think they're just getting their heads a lot. Like I see it all the time where they're just like self-conscious of like what others are going to say about them or how their peers are going to think about them, and it's sad. And I get it. I get where they're coming from, cuz I'm honestly the same way. Like I'm not going to lie to you. Like I'm one of the hardest like I'm hard on myself. Like I put myself to high standards. I'm always worried about like what other people are thinking of me, and like I've been trying to work through it through therapy, because you can't control what other people say. But I think it's just from past traumas that I've been through that kind of forced my brain to be wired the way it is. And I think those are like the things is like I think the deeper root of the problem is a lot deeper than what we're actually thinking. And I think COVID does play a role into that, but I think society that we live in plays a role
Yeah,
into that too, because
for
people
sure,
are assholes
for sure,
and rude.
for sure.
So
And that's funny because I know I can be an asshole at times, but it's because I have this I have this trait of just being nonchalant. But I'm such a positive. Like people ask me, they're like,
mhm.
"Why are you always smiling? Why are you always laughing?" And it's not because every day is perfect, but it's just going back to making that choice that I refuse, with the time I have here on this earth, I refuse to indulge in the negativity or the hate. Like, for example, I can't even tell you if there was somebody hating or if there was somebody speaking negative on me. I couldn't point them out. I don't even know what that person looks like, or if they are hating. I don't get that energy, and I
That's
remove
nice.
myself. The biggest thing is with the trauma, because we're all going to experience losses, grief,
Mm-hmm.
situations where we're uncomfortable. So it's just like with that trauma, are we holding on to it? Or are we trying to actually, like how you're doing, the real work of continue? Because it's going to be a constant thing that's going to show up in your
Yeah.
life to where you're reflecting on things that made you feel a certain way, right? So that's that importance of, okay, how can I maneuver through this, or what can I do, or what community and village can I put myself in? That's why I feel like I'm creating a sanctuary or a safe space for these kids. But after that, it's like after I bring that to you, you have to go back and do that for yourself. Like find
Mm-hmm.
your community, because I'm not always going to be around. Like how you said, we're not always going to be there to protect, and you don't always want to be somebody that's doing that, save, like trying to save everyone, because that's exhausting too.
Yeah, and you can't. I think that's the thing about like a healing journey is like you're
Yeah.
gonna have those good days and you're gonna have those bad days, and it does take time to heal. And I think I just look back at my life and I'm just like, oh, a lot of like my trauma is from sports, when you think about it or not, is because like I think that's why I have high expectations for myself, is because I was an athlete and I had coaches who would constantly like yell at me and put me down because they noticed that when they did that I worked harder. And it was one of those things where it just stuck with me. I just wanted to be the best at everything I did. I would get pissed off if I got a B in a class, and I was just like, now looking back in life, I'm like, that's actually really good. Um,
Yeah, it's a good, great quality to have, man.
but I think a lot of people view me and they think like I'm like mean sometimes, just because I'm a very introverted person, and you probably aren't picking up that vibe right now because we're having a conversation. But I'm very introverted. I will go to school or go to work or go out in the community, and like I'm just walking. Like I don't go out of my way to talk to people. I don't like, that's just not who I am. Like that's who I've been as a kid. Like been the same way. And like I think some people take offense to it because like I don't say like, hey, like what's up or anything like that. Like I'm just like a very, I'm to myself. I'm very introverted when I say that. It's like
Yeah.
I don't like, and most people initiate conversations with me. Like that's the how it usually goes. But I tell people I'm like more of an ambivert than an introvert. Like I have extroverted and introverted qualities that kind of blend together, and depending on the situation I'm in will determine what person you get, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel no, because we're in positions to where we have to speak a lot.
Hmm. Which is crazy because people are like, you don't like to talk, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't like to talk.
Yeah,
I just
that's kind of like my job. I have to.
yeah.
So I don't want to eat, like that's how I am when I come back home. I'm pretty to myself. I'm not really like my notifications on my phone. I have two phones. I have a work phone and a personal.
Same, best thing I ever did.
Yes, best thing, because I have my kids, I have the families, I have the work, and then I just have my core group of people. But
Hmm.
I have those notifications and things always off, just because I want to be in the moment. I think it's really important to just be in the moment. And I understand if that's your job, you have to use your
Yeah.
phone. Go ahead and use your phone. But I guarantee if you check that screen time, you're spending way more time on that phone than you realize. And it can be, create bad habits.
Hmm. My principal called me the other day, and she said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "What?" She said, "This is the first time I've called you, and I didn't have to call you twice." Because my phone is always on do not
Yeah.
disturb.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, well, it's your lucky day. Like, there's some moments where I don't have, like, my phone is usually in like a personal, like, kind of mode. And I have certain people who, like, my mom,
Yep.
my roommate, my
Yep.
best friends, my brother, like
Yep.
my family. Like if they call, like it's just gonna come through. But yeah, I just gotta isolate sometimes. You
You
know,
do. That's
get
important, man.
overwhelming.
That's important. Just from work, just to connect from, even if it's your family, you just need moments to yourself. That's
hmm
critical, man.
So earlier you mentioned like your mom and your why, and it kind of wants me to go into this next segment here. It's the chunk of this whole podcast. So what is it that truly inspires you? But most importantly, what is it that ignites your why?
Yeah, going back to what ignites my why has to be my mother, just laying the foundation down for all three of her kids. I have an older brother, younger sister. We're all about 3 years apart, and each of us are different. And she never like forced us to do anything. Like my brother, he's into engineer, technology, music, art. My sister, she's like the model, the she loves to talk. So I'm surprised she don't have no podcast. Just a beautiful woman. And then me, you have the athlete, but I always wanted to not just identify just as the athlete, which my mom never forced me to play sports. She never depended on me making it to the NFL. So it was very nurturing and loving. I tell people, I said, I always knew she loved me, but it was one of the moments in my life to where she dropped me off to college and I first heard her say, I love you. And that was like stuck with me. That's going to stick with me for the rest of my life because it is important to hear words of like affirmation. And
hmm
now since college, we say that often, but it's cool to see her grow in her relationship with her spirituality, faith, just seeing her kids get older. I know that's real fulfilling for her. And to find, love. She was she made it to the Super Bowl when we went with the Bengals. I want to say it was at 2022. Time is passing. 2022, I want to say.
It was like 2021, 2022, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
right
Yeah.
there. So she was able to attend the Super Bowl and she was front row. And I tell people, I said, I don't know if she was crying because she got engaged or because we lost, but that was another
Both.
highlight.
That was a heartbreaking loss.
I know, man. I know. I'm not even from here, but just being out there playing and just knowing that it was 30 years since you guys were in that position, it was like, okay, like you wanted to win that one for the city.
I always say, I always look back at that game, and I'm like, if Joe Burrow had like one more second, if he had one more second, bro,
Yes, man.
if he
Trust.
had Jamar, he had Jamar down there. If he had
I
one
tell
more
people,
second,
I don't remember a lot of my great plays or big wins. It's always the bad plays, it's always the
hmm
losses that stick with me longer because those are the ones you want.
I think that it it's hard to like, but I tell people all the time is like I try not to say like I take losses. I try to say I take lessons because I feel like
Yeah,
there's a lesson
lessons.
in everything. There's a lesson in everything that you do, and I think everything happens for a reason. And I think it's one of those things is like when you get to a championship game and you lose, you kind of like what we told our kids this year for football is when we made it to the Final Four, and I personally feel like we got cheated, but it is what it is. Like you can't play against the refs too, but um, just telling them like what they did was one an accomplishment in itself, but two like to remember this feeling, right? Remember how you're feeling now, and take that into next season and get your revenge. I think that's the biggest thing is like when you know what it feels like to be there, you
Yeah,
just always want to get back. And I think we have unfinished business. So coming up, it's going to be a good season. So you should catch
I'll
a
be
game.
around. I'll be around.
But I think it's inspiring how your mom has this big impact on your life. And I think when we look back at our childhoods, we never truly realize the sacrifices our parents make for us because it's just what we know, right? We think it's just like, this is normal. Like, my parents love me. My parents do X, Y, and Z for me. But then when you look back in life, you're like, oh shit, like they really like did a lot. And I think about my parents and how I played on three different basketball teams as a child, and how many hours they spent in gyms and on baseball fields, and just it's just like they dedicated so much time to
They
this, and it's
did,
just
man. They
like,
did. Let's definitely give the parents, the adults, or whoever is in a child's life their flowers today, because I mean, we're living proof. We're doing it now, so I can only imagine just the amount of time, money, like it's crazy. But
yeah.
it's worth it, because you do get the reward seeing your kids flourish and live their best lives.
It is definitely a blessing to see when your kids are doing good, but I think it's also very hard to see when like they're struggling, because you're just like, I want to take it all.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to help you.
And that's where it goes back to saying that you can't save everyone, but also getting good with saying no to some things
Mhm.
that may overwhelm your already tough situation. Like, you don't want to take on the burden of everyone's
Yep.
problem when you're dealing with your own. And that's the hardest thing as you're coming up, because we're both young. As ambitious as we are, we can't take on the responsibilities of everyone. Now, yes, we can do our job to our best potential, but at sometimes you got to create that boundary of saying, okay, this is what I have for you. You gotta
Yes.
gotta take it and
Yes.
use it.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things I'm learning. I just released an episode a few weeks ago just about my life, right? And just an update on like what I'm doing. And I was like, I really kind of lost sight of like myself, because it's easy to spread yourself thin. And I
Yep.
think I indulged myself so much into my work that I was not doing anything for me. And I think that's where I was like, okay, I'm bringing back this podcast. I'm going to start taking time for myself. I'm going to
Yes,
start doing stuff for myself again. And I think that's the thing, is just knowing when to say no. Saying no is always hard, but it's necessary at some points,
sir.
because if you're constantly pouring into other people's cup and you're not pouring into your own, you can't give them what they need. I think that's the thing, is like the only way you can truly be the best version of yourself and help people the way you need to is by pouring into your own cup and filling up your own cup.
And I look back and I say, when you do say no, think about how many times you said yes to certain individuals,
Mm-hmm.
kids, families, whatever the case is, or job, and how exhausting that was, or how they showed their hand by when you said no. So now you can reflect and say, okay, so that's how you're acting when I do say no. So now you can create this space of, okay, now I know what our relationship is. Because a lot of people will attack you from different angles, and
Mm-hmm.
some will be your time, some will be your money, some will just be because they just want to absorb your energy, right?
Yeah.
We call them vampires. Got to be very very careful. And a lot of times, as somebody that's in our field of education, we overextend ourselves. So sometimes we do a lot of self harm. We put ourselves in those situations to where it does become overbearing.
Mm-hmm. It definitely can. And I
I
think you just got to
know I'm
have
preaching to the
that,
choir.
you just got to have that balance, and I
You
think that's
do,
the biggest
man.
thing. And it's not even just in education, that's a balance in life.
Life.
I think as you get older,
Yep.
you have more responsibilities,
Yep.
and just shit gets crazy. You can only control what you can control. I think
As
that's
you
the
as you
biggest thing.
trust me, I understand. I understand. I can relate.
Yeah, I just am at the point now where I'm just like, I have a motto of like, it is what it is.
It
Like,
is what it
there's
is.
nothing I can do to change things the way they happen. Like, they happen the way they happen, and it happens for a reason. But I do have a question for you, just because I'm curious, and I
Yeah.
feel like I always ask this question when I ever have a middle child on the podcast. What was it like being the middle child? Because I feel like I always hear these crazy stories. Some people feel like they've been forgotten. Some people have like this beautiful like story about it. But like, did you ever feel like some type of way being in the middle? Because I'm a baby. I'm the baby, so like
Yeah.
I feel like I got whatever I wanted.
Man, I don't think for me, I never really noticed anything other than I was the middle child and I was the athlete. I think knowing that I was the only athlete in the
Hmm.
bunch drew a lot more attention to me. And I truly do think parents be having like they favorites in certain things, but
They definitely do.
it's interesting when there's three. But I love all my siblings the same. I know my mom, she loves us the same. It's just that I was the one that chose this lifestyle of pursuing, making it professionally,
Hmm.
and I don't know. I I joke with my mom because I'm like I'm one of your favorites. I like the chosen one in the family. But it's really I want to be able to be the one to get our family out of situations and break generational curses. So if there was anything with the middle child, I hope that's a good thing of like the middle child is the one to break all this nonsense that goes on in the family.
I just think it's funny because you hear all kinds of different stories of just
Yeah.
like some people are like, oh, like the middle child is always the forgotten one. The youngest is always the one that gets everything, and I'm just
Yes.
like stereotypes. That's what they are
Stereotypes. Yep.
essentially. That's what it comes down to. And I just always wonder because like I only have a brother. It's just the two of us. So like we're three years apart, or as I would say as a kid, we're 2 years, 300 and some days apart.
That's exactly.
Because our birthdays are 9 days apart, so it's not officially 3 years in my mind.
I'm
I
right
would
with.
always say that as a
I
kid,
just
where
say
I
three
was like, nah, that would piss me off when my brother said that when I was a kid. Like I would be like, we're not 3 years, blah blah. Like
facts.
technically, like it is easier to say 3 years, but I was just very stubborn as a child.
Oh, good. You the baby.
But I think it's because I'm a Taurus, so I think that has a
Taurus
lot to do with it. But my brother's also a Taurus, so I think that's why we like butt heads a lot as a kid because
for
of
sure. It's got to be
I was an asshole as a kid. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was so mean to him, and I was just like he had so much patience. Like I remember he was on this podcast and we talked about this, but like my brother was a big like animal person,
yep.
and he had like these toy animals that like he would like set up as like they were like in the Lion King, and I would just be that asshole that just ran by and just knocked them all
For
down
no reason.
for no reason,
For no reason.
just because I wanted
That's just
to.
younger child, man. I think that's just you being a younger child.
Just to piss him off. I think that's what it was.
How was y'all relationship now? Like as y'all grow older, because you say he's an older brother, right?
Hmm.
Yep.
I think that's the thing is like as we get older, like we've gotten closer. I think like when we were younger, like we shared a room, like we were always together, like we fought a lot, and we never truly had that like kind of like separation. Like it was always just us. So like when he moved out, like we kind of like started talking a little bit here and there. Like it's just as you get older, your relationships with your siblings change,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
do.
just like
It do.
it's just different. And I think um when my brother had a stroke back in I think it was like 22
Mm-hmm.
maybe, um really changed like the dynamic of everything because you put life into perspective and you're just like, oh shit, like this is scary. And it's one of those things where it it's life changing.
For sure.
I'm blessed that my brother is still here. Like he's a survivor and he's thriving, and he's a very very lucky person at that. But it just makes you look at life differently and makes you appreciate him a little bit more. Like we still argue. I'm not gonna lie because I got
Y'all,
siblings.
y'all human.
But like it's just like the little things. Like we just goof off and joke around, and when we're at family functions, like we're always by each other and like talking, and it's just one of those
Catching up
things
on life.
where it's just like when we were younger, like it was just like, but now like we're older and it's like, oh, like
Are you pretty cool?
sometimes. Nah, but um, that's just it's crazy how life works. When you look back at it, you're just like, yeah.
What a time. What a time.
I wish I could be a kid again. I tell people all the time, I hate being an adult. Adulting sucks.
I
I hate
have a
paying
presentation
bills.
I do in one of my classes, and it's just taking people through my life journey. And in the end, I had 3 slides, and it's me as a child. I think I was probably 4 years old, but I tell, and then there's a quote, and I talk about not losing that inner child, always keeping that. I think that's an importance as an adult to not lose what made life so fun. Take risk, because as a kid you do take a lot more risk, right? You jump off of the playground or whatever, like you're more a
Yeah.
daredevil at that age, right? So why does it stop? Like, take those risks, and then you're always joking and laughing, right, as a kid. Why does that stop as you become an adult? Yeah, because we have bills and more responsibilities, I get it. But I tell the kids, I say, don't lose that, because I've never lost that. I've always kept myself uh, in that state of mind of like, okay, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm still like full of life and full of
A kid
fun
at heart.
and enjoying my environment. Like, I still am an athlete too, so I'm pretty active.
Yeah.
So I'm like, stay active, laugh a lot, smile, joke, play, like keep that inner child, man. Don't ever lose that.
It's that imagination, I think.
Yes.
It's like as a kid, like you just imagine different scenarios and different things and you make stuff up. Like
Yeah.
you see kids all the time like with sticks and they're like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
lightsaber.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's just
important.
like the imagination piece of it all. And I think that's the thing is being a kid, you just don't have those like worries. I tell people all the time, like the biggest problem I had as a kid was picking which colored crown I wanted from the crown box, or arguing with my parents because I wanted the 64 box with the sharpener. Like
Yeah. Facts. Facts,
it's
man.
like those little things. But I think I want to move into this next segment here because we kind of touched on it a little bit, and
Hmm.
I think it's a good conversation to have. And I'm a big mental health advocate like you, and I think it's important to have those conversations. So my question for you, man, is just how have you been taking care of yourself mentally?
Mentally, I do so much, and it started. I really learned about mental health when I attended Ohio State. I had created this group with a couple more football players, athletes from soccer, gymnastics, basketball, you name it, at Ohio State. It's called Redefine Athletic Standards, and it was an all-black male organization, and that was to talk about relationships, life,
Mhm.
finances, whatever you can think of. We just sat around, had a conversation like this, and that's when the conversation about like mental health came up. And I was like, what's that? Like, what? It was so fresh and new. I think that was in 2017. Because mental health has just became this popular trend, right? Like, everybody's catching on and talking about their mindset, their
Yep.
mental. So in 2017, it was fairly new to us. Like, a few people spoke about it, but you know how it is. As men, you don't
Hmm.
really voice what it is you're going through. But this was an organization that helped the athletes on campus talk about it, have a conversation. So I was introduced to mental health 2017 with joining the group or creating the group Redefine Athletic Standards. It's still there today in 2025 as an organization at Ohio State. So that's pretty cool. And fast forward to 2025, I've just excelled in that field of controlling my mind or making sure I'm always doing something productive that
Hmm.
consists of, hey, when I wake up, am I writing in my journal? I love journaling. I love writing manifestations down and also being able to speak that. I love prayer, being more intentional with my prayers, sending it to my family group chat, sending it to my best friend, calling people when I'm thinking of them. Because you'll think of somebody randomly. It's like weird. You just start thinking of somebody. You're like, that was a good time. So why not call them? Why not call them, check up on
Mm-hmm.
them? And that's good for your health too, because, maybe you missed this person. Maybe you just needed conversation. So it's so many things. And then I'm an athlete, so I'm always active. I'm always in the weight room, always running. I think physical health is just as important as the mental and contributes to a good mindset. So there's so many things I do that range from physical health to journaling to just speaking and having conversations. Like right now, I feel like this is a great for my mental because I have somebody that aligns or that's teaching me something that I probably didn't know today. So
Mm-hmm.
education is important. It's so many things, man. I could just go on.
Yeah.
I get
And I think
excited
that's a
talking about it.
yeah, that's the beautiful thing of like just growth as a human. And I think you said it the best is like mental health has kind of always been a topic where it was kind of frowned upon to talk about when you really think about it. And I think it, as men, even more, just because like we're kind of taught to quit crying, suck it up, like you're a man, be strong. And I tell people when you express your feelings, like, and you're being vulnerable, like that is strength. Like that's enough power to be authentic and open and honest with yourself. And I think for me, it wasn't until I started therapy, and therapy truly saved my life, right? And honestly, like I wouldn't be where I'm at today without therapy, because my therapist has seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows and just kind of helped me through a lot of different things in my adulthood where I was just like kind of like suffering through. And one thing that kind of always stuck with me is like we have the power to feel what we want to feel,
Yep.
and we have the control to feel what we want to feel. And she always gave me this kind of like two different analogies, but this one always kind of stuck with me. Is like, that like that ball that like expands, and like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So
Little
she's like, those are your emotions, right? And like I live out here most of the time where like I just don't. And then she's like, it's okay to come in and feel what you need to feel. And the best thing about it is you have the control to be like, okay, like I felt enough, and you can bring that back out. And I think the biggest thing for me is whether you're feeling it for 1 minute, 5 minutes, an hour, or whatever it may be, is like you're addressing those feelings and you're not bottling it up. Because when you bottle and you avoid, it just makes it harder in the long run, because you're going to have to deal with it eventually. And
eventually.
I think that's the lesson I learned is like, yes, it's hard. And it's still something I'm learning. But the thing is just being transparent and honest with yourself. And like you said, like you journal. And I think writing for me like is helpful. Like I'm currently trying to write a book. Um, and the book is just about my life, right?
Yeah.
It's about my experiences and the things I've gone through. I have the title. I'm not going to say it right now just because it's kind of still in the works of
Yeah.
everything, but
No.
it's really just been therapeutic, just being able to sit down and write about my life and the struggles I've been through and how they've shaped me into who I am. And it's been just healing. It's like that weight gets lifted off your shoulders and you're just like, oh, I feel good.
I need it. And that's a conversation between yourself when you're journaling and you may not
Mm-hmm.
want to tell the world at this moment, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through, but you can get that weight off your shoulders and just write in that journal and read it and reflect and look back and say, okay, I came a long way. Like that was dope. And moving forward with more stories, more trials and tribulations, and just having the consciousness to say, hey, my mind isn't where I want it to be. And knowing that you need to continue to do the work is
Mm-hmm.
valuable, because I'm glad you're here today and to tell your story, to share conversations. I'm glad that you're making an effort to keep trying. So I definitely salute you, man.
I appreciate it. That means a lot. And it's kind of like my shirt. It
Yeah.
says you are enough.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing is every day you just wake up and it's a blessing, right? And every day is not promised. And when you go through some of the shit that like I've been through, you just like kind of look at life differently. It's just one of those things where I've told people on this podcast before is like I've had friends who like have been murdered. I have friends who are in jail for murder. I have friends who have committed suicide. I have friends who are doctors, who are teachers, like who have done amazing things. But when you grow up in a, like I was very fortunate growing up. I tell people all the time, like I had both my parents. I never had to worry about where like clothes came from, food, nothing. I never had to worry about any of that. But I was exposed to the other side where I had friends who moved 7 times in one school year just because they bounced house to house. And I've seen the struggle, and working in a lower income district, like you get kind of a different sense of life, and it just makes you look at life and appreciate life the way it is. And I think that's just why I do what I do. It's just you get exposed to so many different things, and I just want what's best for the next generation because that's the future of our country. So got a little deep there. Sorry.
Nah, man, that's dope. That's dope, man. Like I tell people when I have conversations, it's basically because I've never been to a therapist. Actually, a lot of people think I have. I've never attended a therapy session, but I know for some people they might need it. For me, my therapy is literally
Mm-hmm.
life itself. Having these organic conversations because I'm an open book, so I'm not hiding my struggles. I'm not hiding my failures. I'm not running from anything. I want to talk to somebody and tell, them, hey, this is what I've went through. But I look at it as a positive because I'm like, I'm still going. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
examples like yourself who's like, that's motivation for me. Keep going because you're taking care of yourself. And I'm also able to express myself through my sport, express myself through public speaking. So I don't feel this need of going to somebody professionally, which they could help
Mm-hmm.
too. But I'm like, shoot, I'm doing the work. I know I'm doing the
Yeah.
work, just like yourself. You're doing the work by going to somebody and just trying to figure out, okay, why am I going through this? Like, what's happening? And you take that. I love how there's multiple ways to do therapy and not just this
Mm-hmm.
singular thing of, hey, you have to do this. And I love that we gave both examples or multiple examples of this is how therapy is because a lot of
Yeah.
kids struggle with that too. They don't know what it looks like.
There's not a right way to do it. I
It's
think
not
that's
the
the
right
thing.
way.
It's like there's not a right way, there's not a wrong way. I think
Mm,
it's just doing what is best for you. And I think like therapy is not for everyone. It
no.
works for some people, it doesn't work for others. But like I told people, it's like I'm on like my fifth therapist. Like it took me time to find someone who I could truly like understand and kind of
Yes.
like relate to, and kind of like understood me and didn't judge me or make me feel a certain way. So like I think that's the thing is just like you got to find what works for you, whether that's writing, running, playing sports, or reading a book, or just listening to music, whatever that is for you. Like there's ways to heal, and I think that's the most important thing is you just got to find that yourself, and it takes time.
Therapy, I want to make it clear, therapy is not off the table for me. Therapy is not off the table for me. Now as I get into my relationship with my lady, maybe we might want to experience it as a
Mm-hmm.
couple, because I've never had the responsibility of dealing with other people's emotions on a consistent basis,
Yeah.
other than mine, because that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, and I think like when you think like some people think therapy is like one of those things where like you have to be in a very dark place to go to,
No.
and that's not the place. Like that's not the thing. Is like you can go to therapy for anything. Like
Yes.
there's multiple times I've gone to therapy and just vented about work
Yeah.
because like I just needed an outlet, and it was like one of those things where she dissects everything that I say and she breaks it down to a way where I understand it, and it really comes down to rewiring and retraining your brain to think a certain way because the experiences we go through wire ourselves to think a certain way is like a protection mode. So, for instance, like I'm a victim of sexual assault. So when that happened, your brain and everything kind of forced me to kind of shut down and distance myself from people. But it was her that, like, one, like, I've never been comfortable enough to talk about this,
Yeah.
but because of her, like, she made me feel like it's okay. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like, she made me realize that, like, this isn't my fault. Sorry, I'm trying not to cry here. But
Nah,
like
you good.
she made me understand that, like, it's okay.
Yep.
And like I like forgive the person. It's the first time I said that out loud. But I think the thing is like you can easily hold on to it and let it define you. But it's one of those things where without that moment and without like her walking me and guiding me through it over the last 3 years, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So it's definitely been a blessing. I'll say that. And she's taught me a lot, like, about myself and about my childhood. So it's just a beautiful thing. I think,
Continue.
like, when I say,
Continue, man. We all
yeah.
cheer you on, man. Continue. Continue.
So
That's
when
powerful.
I tell people, like, when therapy saved my life, like, it saved my life because, like, I've been through some shit that people don't realize, and I
Yep.
think the thing is I try to be there for anyone. And I think that's the thing is, like, when you go through shit, you always want to be that person to be like, you got it.
Yeah. I heard a lot of you just showing up for yourself though, also on your journey
Hmm.
because this is your life and you're living it and you have to deal with those, thoughts and memories and experiences, but also you are paving the way for so many young adults, so many even older people that want to be comfortable enough to be like, okay, I got to let go of this that's holding me back from living my best life
Hmm.
and feeling fearful to walk on a path that's just set for you. And I'm just excited, man, because that's big time. That's big
Yeah.
time. You doing it.
And I tell people, like, your journey is unique to yourself. Like, it's easy for us to compare ourselves to other people, but it's really just like, this is your life. Like,
It's your life.
you have the control and you have the power to do and be whatever you want to be. But
100%.
you have to find it within yourself. It's all about self-love and your healing journey and whatever that looks like. And I think that's the most important thing, is take care of yourself.
For sure.
So I just want to say thank you, man.
No
Thank
doubt.
you for
Doubt.
taking the
I'll be
time out of your day to hop on. I think this conversation was one needed for me. I think it's just, I love having these kind of conversations. I love the platform this podcast has. And I think it's just been nice to have like an organic and authentic conversation. So I appreciate it. If anyone wants to continue having a conversation with you about anything that we've discussed today, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
the best way to get a hold of me. So now that I'm on social media, I have so many platforms. It's easy to find me. Just type it in on Instagram, Keandre Jones, KeandreJones, on any platform, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm on TikTok too, so you can find me on there. I'm not doing no dances or trends, but I'm really just advertising and marketing my kids, man. I want to get more of these stories out. I want these kids to get comfortable letting people know, like, hey, I'm here. I see
Mm-hmm.
you. And I know there's a community for us that wants to support these kids in our shoes. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. You don't want to plug every day's an episode?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Everyday episode 2 will be you just type it in on Instagram, everyday episode or LinkedIn. And let's see, am I missing something? Oh, everydayepisode.org. Also, you can go to our website and subscribe.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I've truly enjoyed this conversation. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And I just want to say thank you all for tuning into this episode. If you decide to reach out to Keandre, please just let him know how you found him. It'll be greatly appreciated. And make sure you give us a follow on all social media platforms. It's at Ignyte Your Why. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. You name it, you'll find us there. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now, I appreciate you, but make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and turn that post notification bell on so you never miss an episode. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you. And always remember, find your purpose, ignite your why, and I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.